Hello everyone, it's Steve Barrett again here with another edition of Coffee Break. I'm the editorial director of PR Week, and I'm delighted to be joined by Avi Mali, who is the CEO of Three Pillars Recruiting. And Avi is a specialist in the couple of really hot markets: ad tech, comms tech, and the digital sphere and all the content areas around that. So Avi, it's great to chat to you and catch up on what is one of the hottest markets at the moment. So welcome to Coffee Break.
Likewise, thank you.
So first of all, let's talk about the content world. It's changed a lot. We've all seen how TikTok, how Clubhouse, Twitter, social media, all the different platforms are playing a much more important role, especially if you're trying to target Gen Z and millennial audiences. So tell us a bit about that. And you've got a great view of this because you're supplying the talent for all of these media owners. How is this world evolving, and how has it changed over the last 15 months, especially with the lockdown and COVID and different consumer habits?
Yeah, great question, Steve. I think a number of different things are happening in the market. We've always heard the term content is king, but content is really king right now. Over the past 15 months, consumers, and especially the millennial Gen Z demographic, they've just had so much more disposable time on their hands. Either they were laid off or not working or working at a reduced capacity and certainly not commuting. And they've just had more time on their hands to buy more stuff, to read more content. And there's been just an explosion in audience growth at a number of different content sites.
So tell us about, in specifics, which are the sites you're seeing great growth in? We saw the massive rise of audio social networking, Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces. Is that going to be a trend you see continuing, or do you think that was actually really suited to lockdown when people didn't have much to do, and now they're back out there? We're seeing that maybe slow down a little.
I think that's a little more wavy. It's up and down, and I think Clubhouse is the next big thing now. And there's now a bunch of competitors, and that will always evolve. I think with regards to content and reaching, the millennial or Gen Z consumer, there's a lot of brands out there who've just grown their audiences tremendously. Some happen to be our clients, like Barstool Sports or Betches, just growing like crazy, and others are not our clients, like a Morning Brew recently acquired by Insider, and then there's the IPO market with Vice acquiring their biggest competitor, Complex, and a big $1.5 billion valuation. It's not. This is not a wavy up and down. Up and down flow like Clubhouse and some of the others. These are businesses that are building and growing and evolving their audiences. They're building brands and franchises. They're starting out with one particular audience, whether it be male or female, and then they're just expanding to multiple different other audiences and verticals, and building ad businesses and non-ad businesses that are cracking $100 million in revenue, which just didn't happen 5 years ago if you weren't NBC or Comcast.
So what about the type of talent that you're putting into these places, that the type of content producers? How is that changing? Because the old sort of maybe print-oriented publishers, as they're trying to move digital, as are the traditional broadcasters. Like you said, Gen Z doesn't tend to watch cable TV, they're cord cutters, so they're consuming in totally different ways. What are the type of skills that content creators need nowadays to prosper in this hot market?
Yeah, that's a great question, Steve. So in the past, if a consumer wanted to read content, they would go to cnnmoney.com and they would go to the content. Now, how millennials consume content is the content comes to you. You follow a number of different, social accounts or social channels. You don't really go to a website, right? You just, you curate what you want to see and what you want to read, and the content comes to you. The influencer comes to you. The talent comes to you. So you don't actually need to go anywhere or do anything. And the ones that are killing it right now are the ones that are a little bit edgy. They push the envelope a little bit, or more than a little bit. And the content comes to you. So Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, all the different social channels And having these businesses, it's very different operating on TikTok than it is on YouTube, right? So you need specialists that really know how to bring and grow audiences on various social channels and the unique nuances amongst each, and then of course monetization, right? And certain of these digital first publishers are better on TikTok, and others are better on YouTube, and others are better on Facebook, and everybody has varying degrees. From a talent or hiring perspective, which is the my sweet spot and the lens that I bring, these companies don't want to hire, let's call it old school traditional media. They don't want to hire the digital guy at NBC. They really don't want to hire the linear guy at NBC, but they don't even want to hire the digital guy at NBC. Why? It's just a different business. They grow audiences and they monetize content in very divergent paths. So they want to see candidates from other like-minded digital first publishers targeting other like-minded millennials, because the ability to attract and grow and monetize a millennial audience is very different than than a broader audience. And that leads to this incestual pool where there's just so many jobs, and the jobs would be filled if the guy from NBC could join some of these hotter companies. But that's usually the exclusion, not the rule. You have to know somebody. You have to have something that pops in your profile. So there's just a major supply demand imbalance where there are just way more jobs than candidates that work in this subsector of the millennial content world.
So it's more like a mindset, really, isn't it? That as much as a skill set, in that you've got to understand that market, you've got to kind of engage in it, and it's, I guess it's a lot of it's about community, isn't it? Like you said, it's if this content is coming to you through your feed, and your feed is your community, and it's almost coming to you organically.
Yeah, so that's correct. I'd say it's a mindset thing, it's a skill set thing, and I don't want to downplay culture. Meaning the culture at, I keep picking on NBC, but the culture at NBC, or swap out NBC with any other three-letter acronyms that have linear traditional TV assets, is there's no suit and tie at these digital first publishers, and the content is just edgier. It's more narrowly defined to target audiences. I wouldn't say micro audiences, but target audiences, and they just push the envelope a little bit more. So what that leads to is a skill set delta, a culture delta, and a mindset delta, and that those three kind of combine to create this big supply demand imbalance in the market, where everybody wants to work at these really hot digital first publishers, and they all have the basic skill, but it's competitive. And a lot of these brands, by the way, whether it's they want somebody that lives and breathes the content as a consumer. You have to get it, to market it, to monetize it.
Let's talk about the other part of three pillars, which is very much in the ad tech market, communications technology, another really hot area. What sort of trends are you seeing there, and how is that changing? And again, what are the type of skills that people are looking for?
Yeah, great question. The market is booming. The public markets, the VC-backed market, the public markets are really booming, with companies like the Trade Desk, flying high during COVID and even before COVID. Magnite, Pubmatic, a lot of really successful IPOs. Before all this happened, a number of years ago, the path to liquidity for an ad tech company was to get bought by a bigger media company or a strategic investor, a pretty finite group. Now there's a big path to liquidity amongst the public markets, and ad tech is just booming in a way I haven't seen since programmatic started a decade ago. The ad tech market was soft the past few years, say 2017, 18, 19, certainly soft in the pandemic, but so was much of the, digital media and broader economy. But it's booming in a way that I haven't seen it in over 10 years. In addition to the public markets, today we just saw Blackstone make make a significant equity investment in Simplify, an ad tech company that is our client and I know very well, but an ad tech company that most don't know well, about 400 people, valued at 1.5 billion. We're seeing this left and right, where the go big or go home mentality is real and impactful. And the markets are just so hot right now that so many companies, public and private, I'd say a little more private actually, are pushing the envelope because they know there's a window here. There's a window to capitalize. There's a window to go public. There's a window with frothy valuations. If you're an ad tech and you're in sales and you're calling brands or agencies or anyone across the Lumascape ecosystem, demand partners, supply partners, you are in high demand. If you are trading or doing hands-on keyboard optimization for paid search, paid social, or programmatic, more so paid social and programmatic, but paid search too, you got 10 jobs available to you. Account management, customer success, product marketing, every area of ad tech is booming right now. And just like you see in the construction industry with the price of steel and wood flying high because of supply demand imbalance, the same thing is happening in our industry, where I'm even taken aback recruiting in this industry for 13 years to just see the salaries that we're getting some of these candidates, because they're interviewing at 10 companies. They've got 3 offers. They go to give their boss office and they're immediately countered because everybody knows how hard it is right now to hire in ad tech.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Some of the valuations, you're absolutely right. What was it that changed? Because we had the first bubble, ad tech bubble, if you like, and then it slowed down. Then we had COVID. What was it that's caused this? Was it something during COVID when everyone's doubled down on digital and data, or have you got any reasoning behind it, or is it just a sort of?
It's a good question. I have theories. I don't have any reasoning. I'd say there's a lot of disruption going on right now with Apple, with Google, with cookies, with iOS. There's just a lot of like real disruption. And I think that's leading to a lot of winners and a handful of losers, although that hasn't fully played itself out yet, especially with Google kicking the can down the road with cookies till 2023. But I think these businesses are profitable. There's public markets that are valuing these businesses in a healthy way, but a real way. It's not like the dot-com boom, the dot-com era, 20 years ago, where these businesses were built on nothing, right? Yeah, this is not like Dogecoin.
Pets.com.
This is not built on a meme. These are built on professional and profitable businesses growing at above average rates in our industry, but still growing really, really fast. And as the paradigm shift of traditional to digital dollars just continues to run its course, every year, increasing that trajectory, it just leads to the continued growth of the industry, which has always happened for the past 10 years. But now you've got the public markets, now you've got the exit factor, now you've got the liquidity, and you've got a lot of companies just merging or getting acquired in very strategic ways, right? Talaria and Rubicon merging was a big win-win for both parties. And the stock prices accurately reflected that, right? But these are fast-growing businesses that, kind of mirror SaaS-based businesses, even though Magnite / Rubicon and Pomatic are SaaS-C, but they're not true software businesses, but they're growing like software businesses.
Yeah, well, it's good news for you because people want to hire, and people want to hire people at good salaries. So thanks for sharing those insights, Abby. And it's a fascinating time and a really hot time. And we're looking forward to plotting it at PR Week and seeing where these trends take us. Thanks for joining us on Coffee Break.
Thanks so much, Steve. Always a pleasure.